Welcome to our deep dive. Today, we're going to be exploring tokenized real estate
Sounds good.
from, what are digital deeds, what is fractional ownership,
Right.
all the way to, how this is going to change the future of the entire industry.
Yeah.
And we've got a stack of reports and case studies here from Security Token Market that are going to help us break all of this down.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think this will be a good one.
I think so. This is a really fascinating topic.
So I think, and maybe a good place to start is by just addressing the elephant in the room, so to speak.
Okay.
The global real estate market.
Huge.
It's massive, right?
It's the world's largest asset class.
Yeah, we're talking what, like $375 trillion?
At least ever.
At least. I mean, it's just a mind-boggling number.
Right. And it's always been sort of this, I don't know, sort of this industry that's been kind of stuck in the past a little bit.
Yeah, it's very traditional.
Think of like, paper deeds and
Bureaucracy and...
slow transactions.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of middlemen.
Exactly.
So that's where blockchain comes in, right?
Yeah, blockchain is really shaking things up in the real estate world.
And it's offering solutions to a lot of these, these long-standing problems.
Totally.
Like, with blockchain transactions, they're so much faster and more cost-effective.
Way more efficient.
Than traditional methods, yeah.
And one thing that I think is really important to highlight is the transparency that blockchain brings.
Yeah, that's huge.
Like, never before have we been able to track the entire history of a property, from who owned it to any like renovations that have been done, everything.
All in there's a permanent, record.
Exactly, this immutable ledger.
Yeah. So for our listener, imagine, you want to buy a property.
Yeah.
And you can just pull up the entire history of this property and see everything that's ever happened to it.
All the transactions,
Yeah.
Who's owned it, any liens, any disputes, everything.
I mean, that's a game changer for buyers.
Huge. And for sellers, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then all of that transparency also makes it incredibly secure. Each transaction is cryptographically verified and added to the blockchain. Like, it's virtually impossible to tamper with those records.
Right. And it's interesting, we talk about blockchain, but then tokenization is another word that gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
And I think, it's important to break that down for our listener in simple terms.
Absolutely. So tokenization essentially means taking a real world asset, something like a property,
Right.
and creating a digital representation of it on the blockchain.
Okay.
And this digital representation, that's called a token.
So it's like a digital deed.
Exactly. Yeah, you can think of it that way.
Instead of this, paper deed that you have, sitting in a file cabinet somewhere.
Right.
You have this digital token that's, that's representing your ownership.
Right. And the great thing about these tokens is they can be traded so easily.
Right. And that makes real estate more liquid.
Way more liquid.
Than it's traditionally been.
Exactly. Yeah. So it opens up a lot of possibilities.
Yeah. So that brings us to this whole world of fascinating use cases.
Totally.
And we've got some reports here on platforms like Red Swan CRE.
Yeah, Red Swan is doing some really interesting stuff.
Which are really revolutionizing real estate financing.
Yeah, they're offering an alternative to traditional bank loans.
And they're doing that by issuing these tokenized preferred shares, right?
That's right. Yeah, so investors can purchase these tokens and they become preferred shareholders in a specific property development project.
So what's interesting about this is that, you don't have to be a wealthy individual or a big institution.
Right, exactly.
To invest in these large-scale projects.
You can get in early.
Yeah.
And it also it helps mitigate risk for investors because the tokenized preferred shares, they act as a buffer against potential losses.
So that's pretty cool.
It's a pretty innovative model.
So then there's also the idea of fractional ownership.
Right.
Which platforms like Quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan of what Quarter is doing.
Are really focusing on.
They're making home ownership more accessible to people who might not be able to afford a traditional down payment.
Right.
In cities where real estate is just so expensive.
Yeah, it's really out of reach for a lot of people.
Totally.
So for our listener, imagine being able to, invest in real estate with as little as a few $1,000s.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It really lowers the barrier to entry.
It does.
And allows more people to participate in the potential growth of the real estate market.
It democratizes it, Yeah. It gives everyone a chance.
And then it's not just about, owning a piece of a property.
Right.
I mean, platforms like Care are taking it a step further by adding utility to their tokens.
Yeah, so CARE uses this dual token model. So one token represents ownership, and then the other is a utility token that offers additional perks,
Oh, cool.
like access to vacation stays at the property.
Wow,
So
so you can actually like go stay in the property.
that's right. You get discounts, you get preferred booking. It's pretty cool.
I mean, that's awesome. That adds a whole other dimension to real estate investing.
Yeah, you get to experience the benefits of ownership.
Right. It's not just this abstract financial,
It's tangible.
Yeah.
You get to go there, you get to see it, you get to enjoy it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then, so we've got all these different types of tokenization methods too. I
Yeah.
mean, we've got debt tokenization, equity tokenization, fund tokenization, even title tokenization.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do this.
So we've got some really cool examples here in our research from Security Token Market.
Yeah.
For example, we've got Capitol Hill Securities.
Yeah, I read about them. They seem really innovative.
They use the Curdo.io platform to offer a tokenized bond that was backed by student housing in London.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah, and so what's really fascinating here for our listener is, this idea that tokenization opens up investments that were previously unavailable to retail investors.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes it more accessible
Yeah.
to the average person.
So you don't have to be an accredited investor
Right.
or a high net worth individual to
Exactly.
get in on these types of deals.
That's the whole point.
Yeah. And then we've got another example, Aspen Coin,
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
which granted fractional ownership in the St. Regis Aspen.
Very cool.
And you got, perks like discounted stays.
So it's luxury and blockchain, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What a combination.
And so, again, for our listener, I mean, this just shows that tokenization can be applied to, these high-end properties, not just everyday homes.
Yeah, any type of real estate can be tokenized.
And then we've got some really innovative stuff happening with title tokenization as well.
Right. Yeah, platforms like Fabricaland,
They're enabling instant property sales with crypto
which is incredible.
and the ability to borrow against your digital deed.
So that's a huge development.
Yeah, I mean, for our listener, imagine being able to get a loan in minutes
Yeah.
by using your property as collateral.
It streamlines the whole process.
Yeah.
No more waiting weeks for approval.
Exactly. It's a game changer for real estate financing.
Totally.
And then we can't forget about, fund tokenization.
Right. Yeah.
So, a good example of this is Extance Freedom Fund, too,
Okay.
which is a tokenized real estate fund that focuses on multifamily and storage properties.
I like that approach. It offers investors a lot of diversification.
Right. Yeah, you can get exposure to different types of real estate without having to purchase, multiple properties individually.
And again, it makes it more accessible to smaller investors.
Right.
Right.
Who might not have the capital to buy a whole apartment building.
Yeah, exactly.
But they can buy a piece of a fund that owns multiple properties.
So it's really cool. I mean, we've looked at so many different platforms.
Yeah, it's a booming industry.
But one that really seems to be, hitting on all the key trends that we've been talking about is realty.
Yeah, they've been doing some amazing work.
They've been a pioneer in tokenizing single-family rental properties.
That's right. And they have really impressive track record.
Yeah, over 626 properties
Yeah.
and almost 2,000 units tokenized.
That's a lot of real estate.
Yeah, and they've got a 97.22% rental occupancy rate.
That's incredible.
Which is phenomenal. I mean, that really shows that they know what they're doing when it comes to selecting and managing properties.
They're picking good properties and they're managing them well.
Yeah.
So investors are seeing real returns, and they've distributed over $23 million in rental income to their investors.
Real cash flow.
Yeah. So for our listener, this means, you're not just buying a token, you're actually investing in a real property
Right.
that's generating real income.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
You get the benefits of real estate ownership.
And Realty is taking it a step further with their real token DAO,
Oh, tell me about that.
which gives token holders a say in the platform's governance.
So it's a decentralized autonomous organization
Yeah.
that allows token holders to vote on proposals.
So this is a really great example of how blockchain empowers communities,
It does.
and it fosters a more decentralized approach to decision making.
Exactly. It gives power back to the people who are
Yeah.
actually invested in the platform.
So Realty is a really great example of how tokenized real estate is more than just a technological innovation.
Right.
It's also about creating new models for ownership and community engagement.
Right. Absolutely. And Realty is not alone.
Right.
I mean, there are other platforms out there like MetaWealth and Riental.
Yeah, and they're all contributing to this rapidly growing ecosystem.
It's a really exciting time to be involved in tokenized real estate.
And then there's Parkle, which is taking a really unique approach
Oh, yeah. Parkle's interesting.
by allowing investors to speculate on the growth of entire cities
Yeah, they have these tokenized indices.
through these tokenized indices, yeah.
So you can basically bet on whether a city's real estate market is going to go up or down.
Right, so you don't even have to buy, a physical property.
Exactly.
You can just participate in the market.
Right. It gives you exposure to a whole city
Yeah.
without having to buy a specific property.
So it's another way to kind of get in the game.
It is, yeah, and it's more accessible for a lot of people.
Yeah, so we've seen how tokenized real estate has evolved from, early offerings like Aspen Coin to this multi-billion-dollar industry that it is today.
It's come a long way.
But here's something to think about.
Okay.
Less than 0.01% of global real estate
Wow.
is currently tokenized.
So we're still in the very early stages.
Yeah.
There's so much room for growth.
I mean, the potential for growth is just astronomical.
It's mind-blowing
Yeah.
when you think about it.
And we're already seeing major players like Steelwave
Oh, yeah. They're a big deal.
entering the space. I mean, they're tokenizing funds
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
worth, hundreds of millions of dollars.
That's a big sign that institutional investors are starting to take notice.
Yeah, I mean, these aren't small players.
Right.
These are, big institutional investors who are putting their money where their mouth is.
They see the potential.
Yeah.
They're not going to invest unless they believe in it.
And then there are even discussions about moving title registries on chain.
Wow, that would be huge.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a monumental shift.
It would streamline everything.
Yeah, I mean, for our listener, imagine a world where you can buy or sell a property in minutes.
Yeah.
With, all the paperwork and the legal complexities just handled seamlessly.
All on the blockchain.
Yeah, on a secure blockchain platform.
That's the future.
Yeah.
That's what we're moving towards.
So it's really exciting. And then, of course, we've got, the growing influence of the crypto community as well.
Right. Yeah, crypto is a big part of the story.
We're seeing crypto natives, looking to diversify their holdings
Yeah.
by investing in tokenized real estate.
Yeah, they're looking for real-world assets
Right.
to balance out their crypto portfolios.
And then we've got platforms like Milo
Oh, yeah, Milo's doing some cool things.
that are making it possible for people to use their crypto, even Bitcoin,
Yeah, to buy homes.
to buy homes.
It's amazing.
So it's a clear sign that these two worlds, blockchain and real estate,
they're converging.
are converging, yeah.
And it's only going to accelerate.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into tokenized real estate.
We've just scratched the surface.
We've explored the basics of blockchain tokenization,
Right.
and a wide range of innovative applications that are transforming the industry.
Totally.
But there's a lot more to discuss.
There is, yeah.
We're just getting started.
Right.
So the next part of our deep dive, we'll delve into some of the challenges
Okay.
and risks
Sure.
that are associated with tokenized real estate.
Yeah. I think that's important to address.
We'll also discuss the regulatory landscape
That's a big one.
and the role of DeFi in this evolving market.
DeFi is going to play a huge role.
So stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into tokenized real estate.
Can't wait.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of tokenized real estate.
Glad to be back.
In the first part, we explored all this incredible potential that this technology has
Right.
to make real estate more accessible,
Right.
more liquid,
Yeah.
more transparent.
It's really exciting.
But, as with any emerging technology,
Right.
there are also some challenges
Sure.
and risks that we need to address.
Of course. Yeah, nothing's perfect.
Right. And maybe one of the most pressing challenges
Okay.
is the regulatory landscape.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Tokenized real estate kind of sits at this interesting intersection
Right.
of real estate law and securities law.
It's a gray area.
It's a bit of a gray area.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's a complex web of regulations.
It is, and it's constantly evolving.
Yeah, I mean, it's evolving rapidly as regulators try to keep pace
Right.
with this fast-moving industry.
Trying to catch up.
Yeah,
It's hard to keep up.
and different jurisdictions have different approaches,
Of course.
which can create uncertainty
Yeah.
for both issuers and investors.
Yeah. It makes it tough to know what the rules are.
So for our listener, imagine trying to navigate
Right.
this maze of regulations
Exactly.
that vary from country to country.
It's a nightmare.
It's a hurdle that the industry needs to overcome to really achieve mainstream adoption.
Yeah. It's definitely a barrier.
And then, because we're dealing with fractional ownership,
Right.
there are also questions about investor protection.
Absolutely.
How do we ensure a fair treatment
Right.
for all token holders?
That's a good question.
I mean, if you're investing in a fraction of a property,
Yeah.
you want to be sure that your rights are protected,
Of course.
that the platform you're using is operating in a transparent and equitable manner.
Transparency is key.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
then you have the technical challenges.
Okay.
Blockchain technology it's maturing quickly.
Yeah.
But there are still some hurdles to overcome.
Like what, for example?
Well, scalability is a big one. Can these blockchain platforms handle the massive volume of transactions
Right.
that a truly global tokenized real estate market would generate?
Yeah, so for our listener, imagine, millions of people
Right.
buying, selling, trading fractions of properties on a blockchain platform.
It's a lot of data.
I mean, can the technology keep up
Yeah, that's the question.
with that kind of demand?
It's something that developers are working on.
And then, of course, there's the issue of security.
Always a concern.
While blockchain is inherently secure,
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen instances of hacks and exploits in the crypto world.
Right. It happens.
So how can we ensure that these tokenized real estate platforms are robust enough
Yeah,
to withstand these threats?
that's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing process.
Okay.
Constantly improving security protocols, implementing best practices,
Educating users
educating users, absolutely.
about how to protect themselves.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
And then let's not forget about the human element.
Right.
The success of any new technology ultimately hinges on adoption.
It does.
Are real estate professionals, brokers, agents, lawyers,
The gatekeepers.
yeah, are they ready to embrace this change?
That's a good question.
I mean, there's definitely a learning curve involved.
There is, for sure.
And some industry players may be resistant
Yeah, people don't like change.
to new ways of doing business.
It's understandable.
So for our listener, imagine trying to convince a real estate agent who's been doing things the same way for decades to suddenly switch to a blockchain-based platform.
It's a big ask.
It's a cultural shift
It is.
that will take time and effort.
Absolutely.
So education
Education is key.
and collaboration
Yeah.
will be key to driving this widespread adoption.
For sure.
Platforms need to make their technology user-friendly
Right. It can't be too complicated.
and demonstrate the value that it brings to both
Mhm.
professionals and clients.
It has to be a win-win.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
what about the investors?
Okay.
Are they comfortable with the risks
That's a good point.
associated with this new asset class?
Yeah, it's important for investors to understand the risks.
So for our listener, this isn't a get-rich-quick scheme.
No, definitely not.
This is an investment that requires research, understanding,
Due diligence.
and a long-term perspective.
It's a long game.
Yeah.
You have to be patient.
So we've talked about some of the challenges,
Right.
but I think it's important to remember that we're still in the early stages
Where?
of this technology's development
Early days.
as blockchain technology matures
Right.
and regulations become clearer.
Hopefully.
Many of these challenges will
Yeah.
be addressed,
I think so, yeah.
and the potential benefits are
Yeah.
just too significant to ignore.
I agree.
I mean, imagine a world where you can buy and sell real estate instantly
Wow.
with, lower transaction costs,
Yeah.
greater transparency.
There's no middleman.
Yeah. So for our listener, that means no more waiting weeks
Right.
or even months
Yeah.
for a property transaction to close.
It could happen in minutes.
It could happen in minutes,
Securely and efficiently.
securely and efficiently.
That's the dream.
And imagine a world where you can diversify your portfolio
Yeah.
with fractional ownership in prime properties.
Right.
Even if you don't have millions to invest.
Exactly. It opens up so many possibilities.
Tokenized real estate could democratize access to investment opportunities
It could.
that were previously out of reach
Yeah.
for many
Don't think
individuals.
so, yeah.
And it's not just about financial gains.
Right.
It's about unlocking new possibilities
Yeah.
and creating a more efficient,
Yeah.
transparent, and accessible
For everyone.
real estate market for everyone.
That's the goal.
Okay, so we've explored the bright side.
Yeah.
We've explored the potential pitfalls
Right.
of tokenized real estate.
We've covered a lot of ground.
But one question keeps coming to mind for me.
Okay, shoot.
What does this mean for the traditional players in the industry?
That's a good question.
The banks, the brokers,
You're the gatekeeper.
the intermediaries that have long dominated the real estate market.
Yeah, what happens to them?
I mean, will tokenized real estate disrupt the industry and make these traditional players obsolete?
It's possible.
Or will they adapt and integrate this technology into their existing systems?
That's the other possibility.
I mean, it's a dynamic that's unfolding right now.
It is.
And it's really hard to predict the outcome.
Yeah, we're in uncharted territory.
Some traditional players are already embracing tokenization.
They see the writing on the wall.
Yeah, they're seeing it as an opportunity to enhance their services
Right.
and reach new markets.
They want to stay ahead of the curve.
And they're recognizing that, tokenization can streamline their operations,
Absolutely.
reduce costs, improve transparency.
It just makes sense.
But other players are taking a more cautious approach.
They're waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, kind of a wait-and-see approach.
Yeah, understandable.
Which is, understandable given all the uncertainties
Right.
surrounding regulation and technology.
It's a gamble.
So only time will tell who will be the winners and losers in this transformative game.
It's going to be interesting to watch.
But one thing is clear,
What's that?
the real estate industry is changing.
It is.
And tokenization is a driving force behind that change.
No doubt about it.
And this change is also being fueled by another exciting frontier,
Okay, what's that?
decentralized finance,
DeFi.
or DeFi.
Yeah, DeFi is huge.
DeFi is all about creating a more, open, transparent,
Right.
and accessible financial system.
And it has the potential to supercharge the growth of tokenized real estate.
Yeah, I mean, imagine being able to borrow against your tokenized property
Instantly.
instantly.
Using a DeFi lending platform without having to go through the traditional banking system.
So for our listener, that means no more lengthy loan approval processes, no more mountains of paperwork
It could all be done quickly and efficiently.
on a blockchain platform.
That's right.
And imagine being able to trade your tokens 24/7
Yeah.
on decentralized exchanges,
Global liquidity.
tapping into this global pool of liquidity.
It's a game changer.
I mean, it's like having access to a global stock market for real estate.
That's a great analogy.
DeFi has the potential to revolutionize how we interact with tokenized real estate.
It does, but DeFi also comes with its own set of challenges and risks.
Right, of course.
I mean, security is a major concern.
Yeah.
DeFi platforms are often targeted by hackers.
So for our listener, it's important to remember that the DeFi platforms are typically unregulated,
That's right.
which means there are fewer safeguards in place
Yeah.
to protect investors.
Buyer beware.
And the complexity of these protocols
Oh, yeah.
can be intimidating for newcomers.
It can be overwhelming.
It's important for anyone venturing into the world of DeFi to do their research. Absolutely. Understand the risks and proceed with caution.
Don't jump in blindly.
But for those who are willing to navigate this new landscape,
Right.
the potential rewards could be significant.
It's a high-risk, high-reward environment.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this episode.
We have.
We've explored the fundamentals of tokenization,
Right.
the regulatory hurdles,
Yeah.
the technical challenges,
Uh-huh.
the rise of DeFi.
DeFi is changing everything.
But there's one final piece of the puzzle
Okay.
that we need to address,
What's
the human element.
the human element, right?
What does the future hold for the people who live, work, and invest in this tokenized real estate world?
That's the most important question.
And that's what we'll delve into
Okay.
in the final part of our deep dive.
I'm looking forward to it.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into tokenized real estate.
It's been a great conversation so far.
We've talked about all the tech,
Yeah.
all the potential,
The challenge.
the challenges, even dipped our toes into DeFi.
Right. DeFi is wild.
It is wild.
That's a whole other world.
But now I think it's time to really shift our focus to the human side of this.
Okay, yeah, that's important.
How's this going to impact the everyday person?
The people on the ground?
Yeah, the homeowner, the
The
renter.
folks who are actually living in these properties.
Right, the workforce that's driving all of this innovation.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, technology is only as good as its impact on people's lives.
Exactly. So let's start with the aspiring homeowner.
Okay.
Could tokenized real estate make that dream more attainable?
I think it has the potential to, yeah.
Especially in today's, challenging market.
It's tough out there, right?
It's tough. It's really tough.
Especially for first-time buyers.
And we touched on fractional ownership earlier,
Right.
but I think it's worth exploring this in more detail.
Yeah, definitely.
So how could this revolutionize homeownership?
Well, imagine being able to buy a small share of a property, maybe as little as 1%,
Wow.
and then you could gradually increase your ownership over time.
Like a rent-to-own model.
Kind of, but on the blockchain.
So for our listener, it's like you're not just renting.
Right.
You're actually building
You're
ownership
building equity.
brick by digital brick.
Exactly.
I like that.
And this could really open up homeownership to a whole segment of the population,
That's currently priced out of the market.
especially in those expensive cities.
Yeah, where it's just impossible.
Totally out of reach.
And even for people who already own homes,
Right.
tokenization could unlock new opportunities for them to access the equity they've built.
Absolutely. Imagine being able to borrow against your home equity
Yeah.
using your tokenized property as collateral.
Without having to jump through all the hoops of a traditional mortgage.
Exactly. No more mountains of paperwork, no more waiting weeks for approval.
So for our listener, think about how much easier it would be
Right.
to get a loan for, home renovations, education
They
expenses.
didn't start a business
Yeah, if you could leverage your home equity with, just a few clicks.
on a blockchain platform.
It's
That's a
incredible.
whole new level of financial empowerment.
And let's not forget about the renters out there.
Yeah. What about the renters?
How could tokenization change their experience?
Well, it could create these new models for shared ownership
Okay,
where tenants actually have a stake in the property they live in.
interesting.
So they could purchase tokens that represent a share of the building.
So they're not just tenants.
Right. They're part owners.
Wow.
And that would give them a voice in how the building is managed
I like that.
and a share of any potential appreciation.
So for our listener, imagine renting an apartment,
Right.
but also owning a small piece of the building.
Yeah, it changes the whole dynamic
It does.
between tenants and landlords.
Yeah, I mean, it really creates a sense of, community,
It does.
shared interest.
Absolutely. It aligns everyone's incentives.
And then if we zoom out a little bit, think about the impact on the broader workforce.
Jobs, jobs, jobs.
Yeah, I mean, as this market grows,
It's going to create a ton of new opportunity.
it's going to create a ton of new jobs.
Absolutely.
And so for our listener, if you're looking for a career path,
Yeah,
that's on the cutting edge.
this is it.
This is it. Tokenized real estate is definitely worth exploring.
No doubt.
And it's not just about, the technical skills. I mean, we're
No.
going to need people who can really bridge the gap between the traditional real estate world.
The old guard
Yeah.
and the new blockchain world.
So people who can educate, who can guide both investors and real estate
The
professionals.
translators, the interpreters.
Yeah. Help them navigate this new terrain.
Yeah. Communication and collaboration are going to be essential skills in this space.
So we've seen how tokenized real estate has this potential to empower homeowners, renters,
Create jobs.
create jobs. But let's talk about the broader societal implications here.
Okay, yeah, let's zoom out even further.
I mean, could tokenized real estate promote greater transparency
Absolutely.
and accountability in the real estate market as a whole?
I think so, yeah. By recording all transactions on an immutable blockchain,
Right.
you reduce the potential for fraud and corruption.
So for our listener, imagine a world where you can easily trace the history of a property,
Yeah.
verify ownership,
Yeah.
ensure that all transactions are legitimate.
It brings a whole new level of trust and confidence to the market.
And tokenized real estate could also play a role in promoting financial inclusion,
Oh, absolutely.
particularly in developing countries where, access to traditional financial services is limited.
Right, where it's really hard to get a loan or even open a bank account.
So by providing access to global capital markets through these tokenized platforms,
Yeah.
people in these regions could have new opportunities.
To invest, to build wealth.
Yeah, it's a really powerful tool
It is.
that has the potential to drive positive change.
On a global scale.
But as with any powerful tool, there are potential risks as well.
Of course, we have to be mindful of how this technology is implemented.
You can't just assume it's going to be a force for good.
No, technology is a tool. It can be used for good or bad.
So if tokenized real estate isn't implemented thoughtfully and ethically,
Right.
it could actually exacerbate existing inequalities.
It could, yeah, if access to these tokenized platforms is limited to a select few,
Right.
it could further concentrate wealth and power.
So we have to work to ensure that this is used to create a more equitable and inclusive society.
Absolutely. We don't want to reinforce existing disparities.
We need to promote education, financial literacy.
Build platforms that are accessible to everyone.
Yeah. Be mindful of the impact on vulnerable communities.
It's a responsibility we all share.
It is. So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah,
I think we're left with a sense of both awe and caution.
I agree.
Awe at the incredible potential of this technology to transform the way we interact with property.
It's mind-blowing when you really think about it.
And caution about the importance of using this power responsibly and ethically.
Absolutely. We have to be careful.
Tokenized real estate isn't a magic bullet,
No, but it's a powerful tool.
but it is a powerful tool that can help us create a more efficient, transparent, accessible real estate market.
One that benefits everyone.
And we've only scratched the surface of what's possible.
Well, we have. This is just the beginning.
The future of tokenized real estate is being written right now.
It's an exciting time to be involved.
It is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
We hope you found it informative and thought-provoking.
I hope so too.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions.
Keep learning.
The future of real estate is unfolding right before our eyes.
And it's up to all of us to shape it.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having me.